Hey Meeple people, how's it going? On today's video, we are going to be talking about CharCon, a convention that we just went to this past weekend at the time of this recording. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about CharCon and talk about the pros and the cons and our experience at CharCon 2023. So, let's go ahead and start out with the pros. With the pros for CharCon 2023 that I would say about this convention is that they have a nice group of people, dedicated people working on this convention. This is a convention that is ran to the best of their ability. They're always on top of things. They're always trying to help people make sure everyone's taken care of. If there's events running, they'll go ahead and put it over their sound system to try to get people where they need to be. And a number of giveaways they were doing for, I'm pretty sure they were charitable events, were pretty cool. A lot of people were participating in that and getting a lot of tickets. And they had a flea market, which I'm always glad when a board game convention does a flea market. It's a great way to recycle your games, which is awesome. So yeah, those are some of the things that I enjoyed about CharCon. The people, the organization of, and the team that's just behind CharCon, and the flea market. Those are things that I was really enjoying while at CharCon. Now, while at CharCon, I was helping Sarah with her tournaments. She runs 11 state, I think these are semi-national. These are a lot of these championships that she was running at CharCon were events that when you win, you are be going to Gen Con and playing in the nationals there. So it was a pretty busy weekend for her. I was her little assistant, making sure she got everything she needed and helped out as much as she needed me to. So now let's go ahead to some of the negative things that I kind of was, and negative's kind of harsh word, just things that were not ideal at CharCon 2023. Things that I would, if someone asked me, hey, what do you think about CharCon? I'd give you my positives, and then I'd give my negatives. So for my negatives, I would say the space. The place they choose to do CharCon is kind of weird. It's the Clay Center. It's a museum. It's like a kids museum with active interactional things. That's in the museum is like not shutting down this weekend. It's still going while there's a board game convention going on, and it's just kind of a weird thing. There's not the space for everybody is weird. There are a couple balconies to where they will have tables set up for people to play. If you're playing at a table, sometimes it's hard to, wiggle through each balcony because, people want to play games and a lot of people want to play games. So it's a little bit of an odd space there. The space for the exhibitors is it's small. It's a small convention, so don't expect too much from a smaller convention. There's about, I think, 1 or 2 actual game publishers there, a lot of crafty type people. Their raffle took up a good bit of space on the exhibitor floor, and then there were just some artists there. So there was things to do, but I felt like I could go through that exhibitor hall, that exhibitor space, for about 10-15 minutes, and then I'd be good for the entire con. So there wasn't terribly much to look at. And for getting games wise from publishers, you'd really just be getting from the 1 or 2 publishers that were there, and then the game stores that would come in. So it was okay, these are game stores that are coming, so I can probably get this at my friendly local game store if I have it there. Well, then next is where they placed people. So I told you the spacing is kind of weird. There's a stage where they put all the RPG players, and then there was a tournament being ran there, and then in the balconies of the museum, there were spaces where the gamers would play. And then on that same note, when they did the board game flea market, they would go ahead and do it on the stage with the RPGers. So you have to enter this huge theater-like area go past all these chairs and then get to the stage, put up your wares on the stage. There wasn't too much space. There was a good enough people to where, again, I didn't check it out for myself because I already have more than enough games and I don't need to be buying more. Even if they're at a great deal, I need to place in the games that I already have. But yeah, it just didn't seem like there was a lot of functional space within the Clay Center that they picked out for CharCon 2023. So yeah, it just was kind of a bummer and kind of hard for some people because you'd always kind of not be bumping into people, but again, the people are really nice and they're really people are willing to move. Staff there was willing to get more tables if they had any. They really tried to accommodate you as best they can, but the how things were laid out because this was a museum was kind of odd, and I don't know. I'd rather be in a hotel that had a convention area so you can go play games there and do all your things there and have a bigger dedicated space for gaming than what CharCon had. But yeah, so that's one of the other negatives. Not so much of a negative as like for CharCon itself, but just the area was not great. A lot of homeless kind of around, and at night it would get pretty dark. And then the hotel wasn't great either. And this is nothing to do with the ability for the people that run CharCon, but just the hotel that most people that are going to CharCon were staying at had like all 3 elevators were broken one night. And me and Sarah were climbing up 5 stories of stairs. And it was kind of like, okay, this is like not great, but oh well. And yeah, it wasn't just the greatest area. And this isn't just for this convention. There are a lot of conventions that have that kind of thing where this isn't the greatest area. So you want to make sure you're in the safer part of where these people, like PAX Unplugged, for example. PAX Unplugged had like not a great area. And yeah, I got followed one night when I was during that convention. It was not fun. And so yeah. So, I mean, this area kind of gave the same vibe of just not like being terribly safe and the hotel accommodations not being great. So not really on the con for that, just more of like a thing where it's like, hey, this is just something that you have to deal with all day. You have to go sleep in a bed somewhere. And whether it's an Airbnb or a hotel room, it's like, you got to make sure where you're at and that it's a good spot for you. So you can bring all your stuff and bring it all back to your room. But yeah, so that's really much of the negatives I have for it, for CharCon. But if you're someone that's local that can drive there and back, I think this is a convention that I would recommend to you. If this is a convention that you're trying to go to and you have to travel a good bit for, like North Carolina was like a 5-hour drive, I don't know if I'd travel to this one, just in my opinion, as someone that would go there for fun. I think this is just one I might just pass because, again, all the money to get there and just the kind of things that we ran into this time were not ideal. But if you're local, if you're not traveling that far, I would think this is a good one to go to for, the groups of people that come together to play games. Again, there's play-to-win games that you can go ahead and participate in and win in. And hey, who doesn't like to play a game, then win it? That's pretty awesome. But yeah, so those are my pros and cons of CharCon. I can't wait to go to Gen Con. Gen Con's coming up. At the time of this recording, I think it's like 2 weeks away. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess I hope that Gen Con goes well. Gen Con's going to be just a monster of a show. And yeah, this is where you get a little bit like, okay, I like smaller conventions because Gen Con's just a little too big. But yeah, so let me know in the comments what you like about smaller shows compared to bigger shows. If you've watching this and you've been to CharCon and you like it, what am I wrong about? I mean, just let's have a conversation about it. I just think I have some hangups about CharCon. There are some good things, but then there's, I think, one too many things that would make me not want to go. But yeah, there's There's a bunch of things for this convention we can talk back and forth about. And if you want to, let's talk in the comments. But without further ado, I hope you all enjoyed this video. More to come, more games coming in, more of learning games. So yeah, I try to keep content up and running as much as I can. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative. And I would love to hear your stories of conventions that you went to that you enjoyed and didn't so much enjoy. So maybe I can save myself a trip. But yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, I'll talk to you guys later.